Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Weird World Podcast.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Carrie.
I'm Emma.
I'm Dean.
Good one.
Thanks. We said our names correctly. She's impressed by that.
Good job.
Little Mickey Mouse Club-ish. Emma.
Yeah.
Oh,
Nice
Hi.
topical reference there from your mom.
I've never watched the Mickey Mouse Club.
So, Dean,
Yes.
I hear you've got something weird to talk about today.
You heard correctly. This is weird. This is actually a classic phenomenon. A phenomenon mystery kind of a thing. It all harkens back to the winter of 1854, 1855, which in
remember it
England,
well.
do you know that? Were you in England?
Yes.
Do you know much about English history?
Yep.
Then you know this was a particularly nasty winter.
Yeah, I was there.
You were
Yeah.
reincarnated? Mm-hmm. Okay.
It was cold and snowy. Is that
It
what
was
you mean by nasty?
one of the coldest winters in years. Temperatures settled below freezing from January through March.
Jiminy Christmas.
Yeah.
Below freezing.
Yep. So snow is building up. It's
People
not
in Minnesota are just shaking their heads right now.
in England, in the south of England, especially where our story takes place. Burr. It's pretty cold.
Yeah.
And since we're in California, we should shut the hell up.
It's like 50 degrees, and we're like, this is ridiculous.
This is crazy. It snowed ceaselessly and heavily the night of February 8th, 1855 in Devon County, particularly around the Exe River estuary in the south and kind of, I guess, South Devon or maybe Southeast Devon, something like that. It's a county, by the way, in England's far southwest, just almost to get to Cornwall. Cornwall's the next one over. So
Is that like where Broadchurch was?
I think it was.
Yeah.
Or nearby, yeah. The biggest city there is Exeter. So that's our setting. There is a town there called Dawlish near the Exeter, the mouth of the river, which is very broad, by the way. It's like 2 miles broad. It's a huge. The opening there of the Exeter River is big. Well, you'll see why that's important later. When the good folks of the town of Dawlish dug themselves out that morning of February 9th, they noticed something strange. They spotted these little footprints. I'm going to start that one over. They spotted little footprints trailing off into the distance and all over their town. They looked a little bit like little horse hoof prints, and they were sort of seared into the icy snowpack on the ground. The prints were mainly about 4 inches long, about 3 inches wide, and they were 8 to 16 inches apart. So a little less than a foot to a little over a foot stride. Okay. Some reports say they were even smaller, only about 1.5 inches or maybe 2 inches wide. But generally speaking, they're pretty small. They're fairly small prints, and they don't have a very long stride.
The first measurements you gave, 4 inches by what inches? That sounds like could be a standard horse.
3 inches wide and the prints were 4 inches long and 3 inches wide.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah,
that would be a
small.
Shetland
Too
pony,
small.
maybe, if that. Have you ever been, you know of horses. You've seen them on pictures, and you've ridden them because I've ridden them with you.
Yeah,
That's
I've
much
never
smaller
measured
than
their
a
hooves.
than a horse. But you thought you'd spout off. That just sounds like a regular horse, asshole. I'm leaving.
But it doesn't sound super small.
It's pretty small.
Okay.
It's much smaller than a horse's hoof.
But it
Trust me.
could be a real animal.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Some were smaller, though. Okay. Hey,
Yeah.
the weird is just starting, sister.
Okay.
Okay. Crude drawings that I have seen, as have others, show. I don't want to say like I'm the only one who's seen these. No, we'll put some on our website and all those kinds of things. Crude drawings show tracks that look very much like horseshoes, as you might imagine. Others, though, were a little bit more cloven, like a goat's, split at the front. Most of them are more horseshoe-like formations. And there was a sheen of ice that day, and some said the tracks cut through the crust, quote, as if the snow had been branded by hot irons. So they seemed like really very defined edges to them, and sometimes very deep, which seemed odd
Yeah.
to the peoples of Dawlish
Because if
and
the snow
Devon.
had been branded, it just would have melted.
Probably
And
melted,
there
yes.
would be no
Unless you pull it up real quick, and then it refreezes. Yeah, I don't know how that works. Weirder still, peoples, the prints were typically in a single file line, one right after the other. So think very small horse prints trailing all over the snowy ground, but in a single line, as if a one-legged creature had hopped along the snow, or a bipedal creature had walked by placing one foot directly in front of the other, which nothing walks like that.
Yeah.
So they're
No.
very oddly single file.
Huh.
Adding to the bafflement was how insanely widespread they were. These footprints were found in over 30 places throughout the south and east of Devon County, or County Devon. I don't know how they prefer it. How do they prefer it? Is it County Devon or Devon County?
I think it's Devon County.
Let's go with that.
Sounds right.
It sounds like if we were talking Ireland. It
Oh,
might be
yeah, I
County
think you're right.
Devon.
I think you're right. I
Because
apologize, England.
You hear them say County Cork all the
Yeah,
time. So.
okay. That's how cosmopolitan we are.
Based on TV shows.
Yes, yes. Based on Irish mysteries versus English mysteries that Carrie has watched. Are the Dairy Girls, I assume also.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, Devon County is about 2,590 square miles. I know you know that.
Yeah, I do.
That's about 6,707 square miles. Give you a sense of how big this area was. It's about the size of Yosemite National Park.
Whoa.
Oh.
For
my.
our American listeners who
didn't-
have been to Yosemite and know exactly how big it is.
I didn't think there was anything that big in England.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. I don't know what to make of that, but I know it's insulting.
I thought everything was just like a little tiny village.
Oh my
Yeah, a
gosh.
little
She's
baby
seen
village.
The Hobbit and thinks that's England. That's wrong, Carrie. England, I'm apologizing for,
No,
Carrie.
I've seen Midsummer Murders, Dean.
Yes, you have. A
So-
long time ago.
And a lot of Miss Marple.
Yes.
And
Yes. You sound like you're 104 years old.
Agatha
when you-
Raisin.
I don't know what that
Oh,
is.
fuck.
No.
People in England know.
Okay. It's also about half the size of Prince Edward Island, which I know you know.
Yeah.
But it's 4 times the size of the city of Manila.
Okay.
It's 30 times the size of Disney World.
Oh, my.
Obviously, I found a cool website that compares things.
Yeah.
Yes. Disney World is huge.
I know,
Yeah.
it's 30 times the size. So County
Yeah.
Devon is a pretty good sized chunk of England there.
Yeah.
And again, it was found in all over the county, especially, again, the south and the east.
Oh, my.
The prints range from Dawlish and Teignmouth on the west side of the Exe estuary, which is, again, like 2 miles wide, to and across the water to Topsham. I have no idea what that's pronounced right. It's probably Topsham, and Exmouth on the opposite side. There were even reports of tracks further afield to the south in Dorset County. At the time, authorities estimated the tracks covered 40 to 100 miles. And by authorities, I'm saying that kind of loosely, but people who were looking into it and wrote letters about it said the tracks covered 40 to 100 miles.
Wow.
So probably not a hoax is what you're saying.
Yes. 60 to 160 kilometers just for the rest of the world. So let's say it's 70 miles or 110 kilometers. Take the midpoint, right?
Yeah.
That's like the distance from Los Angeles to Ventura for our Southern California listeners.
Oh, my.
You think I'm done? R is the entire length of road of Long Island. The whole length of Long Island.
Really?
Yeah.
Long Island's tiny.
No, it's not. It's a pretty good size. There's 2 counties on it and part of the city of New York. Come on, sister.
I know, but how far is...
Well, I'll tell you how far. It's like from Mexico City all the way past Toluca. For our Mexican listeners. Our Aussie listeners is like traveling from Melbourne to Raragarl. Which I know
Raragarl.
for a barbecue. If you're in Brussels, it would almost get you to Rotterdam. Are you in Tokyo? Well, 110 kilometers will get you to Yokohama, then back to Tokyo because you forgot something, and then back to Yokohama.
Oh my God.
goodness.
Yeah. So, maybe you're in Lagos, Nigeria for our African listeners. You need to go to Ibadan. Well, you would almost make it to Ibadan at that distance. So, and by the way, I found all these before I found that website. Just
That's dope.
FYI.
I do enjoy these stats.
We're not done though with the weirdness of this event. Whatever made these prints was deterred by nothing. The prints passed over and are on top of any obstacle in their way. They were seen on the tops of snow-covered roofs, on high walls, 12, 14 feet high. There was a haystack where the prints stopped before them and then started again immediately after on the other side of this big-ass haystack. I'm assuming it's big-ass.
Whoa.
And they moved right through it, flew over, jumped over. No one
Jumped.
knows.
I'm saying
Jumped.
jump.
Okay. Went through it.
Floated.
Ethereal. They did the same over creeks and rivers and also through drain pipes, some as narrow as 4 inches in diameter, where you see the tracks going into a drain pipe and coming out the other side of the drain pipe. Small ass drain pipe. Small ass. That's the technical term.
Well, but maybe they went on top of the drain pipe.
Maybe. Maybe.
But then there would be tracks on top of the drain.
You would
pipe,
think.
right?
One would think. Some prints stopped, or the drain pipe, yeah, it was buried in the ground or
Yeah.
something like that. You'd see the tracks on the ground above it. Some prints stopped at walls and began again on the other side of them, as if the creature had, again, leapt the wall and
yeah.
started over on the other side, exactly in the same spot. And some of the prints even waltzed around gravestones in cemeteries.
Oh my.
Just to be scary. So back in Dawlish, the town where these were seen originally, I guess they were seen pretty much immediately all throughout Devon. But let's focus on Dawlish because someone from Dawlish wrote a letter about this. So as the murmurs spread that something unnatural was in their midst, a posse rounded up clubs and what few guns they had, because this is England and they're civilized and everyone doesn't have a gun and can buy one at Walmart.
Yeah.
And they followed the tracks.
And also 1855.
1855 is also a point, yes.
Yes.
They traced them to the east into Luscombe Wood, about 1.5 miles from Dawlish. So it's already gone about a mile and a half. The trail veered to the north for a half mile to Dawlish Water, then reversed course and trailed south for several miles all the way to Oakland's village. They looked ahead, and the group from Dawlish saw the tracks just continuing on into the distance. So they figured that's enough. We're going to head home now. This posse was stumped, though, by what they had seen, not only by what the creature could be. No one recognized these tracks, didn't have any idea what creature it was, that it didn't look like anything they were familiar with. But they also were stumped by how it moved, because one of the group members in this group that was following the tracks said, quote, "The tracks had stopped and started suddenly in the middle of fields, as though they had been left by a bird or something more mysterious that had taken wing."
Yeah.
This naturally started to feed whispers back in town and all over Devon. That's good. That's good whispering. Good Foley. Word got around from the other parts of the country, or the county, I don't know which I prefer. Either one works. That the tracks were showing up as far as Torquay, again, probably mispronounced that, and beyond. So again, as I mentioned earlier, they leaped over the River Exe as if something had flown or swum over this 2-mile wide estuary.
What's River X? Why is
EXE.
Oh.
It's the name of a
I thought it
river.
was a river that shall not be named.
You cannot call it people.
River name redacted.
I'll just call it X. How's that? Nothing they knew of could make these tracks or travel those distances or cross those hurdles. Nothing natural, that is. You're supposed to go, dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun.
Thank you. It appears that the first account of the Devon footprints in newspapers was on February 13th, so about 4 days after they found. And it was mainly at the time seen as kind of something that had taken place in Dawlish, again, because some folks from Dawlish wrote letters. But this earliest account said, quote, "Since the recent snowstorm, some animal has left marks on the snow that have driven a great many inhabitants from their propriety." Don't know what the fuck that means. And it's not property. I cut and paste the word, so I don't know what that means. And it caused an uproar of commotion among the inhabitants in general. The markings are very singular. The footprint, if footprint it be, is about 3 inches long by 2 inches wide exactly in shape, like a donkey's hoof. The length of the stride is about a foot apart, very regular, and is evidently done by some 2-footed animal. So they thought it looked like a little mini donkey hoof print, effectively, and only, again, a foot apart. So this is not any kind of, a Shetland pony would be bigger than that.
Yeah.
And this, you notice that this measurement was about 3 by 2, not 4 by 3.
Yeah.
So again, the measurements did vary a little bit. So still from this accounting in the newspaper, what renders the matter more difficult of solution is that gardens with walls 12 feet high have been trodden over without damage and having been done to shrubs and walks. The animal must evidently have jumped over the walls. So they were baffled. This ain't no badger. This ain't no anything that they're familiar with. The prints quickly came to be called the Devon footprints, but better still, though, they came to be called the Devil's footprints, or even the tracks of Satan. That last one, by the way, was an early experimental album from Black Sabbath. Give a listen. Check it out on YouTube. Actually, please do type in Black Sabbath Tracks of Satan on YouTube and see what happens. I don't know. The devil, after all, was said to have cloven hooves, right? And some of these prints looked cloven. Some of the tracks were supposedly cloven, and all of the tracks were inexplicable, so boop, you got your devil.
Sure.
Had to be the devil.
Perfect sense in my opinion.
Does. It's sound logic. The cloven print description, by the way, is odd to me because at first I thought maybe is it just sort of the horseshoe in reversed. In other words, the horseshoe has an open back, and if you reverse it, it looks like an open toe essentially. But cloven, as you know, cloven is just sort of a cleft in the front of the hoof, think like a goat. But then I saw there is one drawing, a sketch that I found that did look cloven, almost a little bit like horseshoes, but they're mostly filled in, and think the back of it had a little cleft, and now flip it, and it's a cloven hoof.
Yeah.
So but most of the sketches you see look truly like horseshoes with more, the middle is unfilled.
Yeah.
Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay. Again, we'll show some pics. So anyway, so it got this reputation. Oh, some of those prints are cloven. Is the devil. An article from the Times on February 16th gives a feel for the general sentiment. Quote, considerable sensation has been evoked in the towns of Topsham, Limestone, Exmouth, Teignmouth, and Dawlish in the south of Devon in consequence of the discovery of a vast number of foot tracks of a most strange and mysterious description. And in case you're wondering, no, that second sentence was not actually a sentence. It's just bad writing. It goes on, quote, the superstitious go so far as to believe that they are the marks of Satan himself, and that great excitement has been produced among all classes may be judged from the fact that the subject has been discanted from the pulpit.
Wow.
Don't know what that word means. At present, it remains a mystery, and many superstitious people in the above towns are actually afraid to go outside the doors after night.
Yeah.
Freaked people out. They thought the devil was walking in Devon,
Yeah.
and maybe it was. This devil angle actually, or naturally, became very popular with the press. The Western Times on the next day, February 17th, said, quote, a report that the town and neighborhood had been visited by no less a person than his satanic majesty.
Oh, God.
Seems a little, I don't know. Majesty, really? I mean, he's Satan. You can badmouth him. It's cool. Maybe they're afraid of him.
Yeah.
I don't know. There was even a story of a group of men with a pack of dogs that went chasing after something, or at least chasing the tracks into a wood, and they let the dogs go. The dogs ran into the wood, and they hear yip, 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 and the dogs come fleeing out of the wood, scared shitless, tails between their legs, probably peeing themselves, and the men go, you know what? Hard pass on going into that wood.
I'm good.
We're going to leave it alone.
I don't believe that story.
It was quote unquote remembered 40 years after the fact. So
Of course. Duh. Takes a while for that type of stuff to come back.
oh, what? You guys are talking about that? No, I have a story about that.
Yeah.
That's my rule. You know my rule by now. Anything that's relayed years after the event is a 99.999% bullshit factor. They're all
I
nonsense. Not everything, but just about everything. So let's
So
take
if
some.
I tell you a story about something that happened to me when I was 5, you're not going to believe it?
No. I'm going to call you a liar. No, I mean more like where, especially when something suddenly becomes, like Roswell's a very great example, where the contemporaneous stories about Roswell were nothing like. People don't generally know that most of the lore of Roswell was told literally decades, not until the late 70s, early 80s, did that lore start to peter out by these, including some people who supposedly were there, but still, that's just, it's nonsense. It's not even people say, oh, well, memories. No, not memories. They're making shit up. Just the simplest common denominator. So what? You look aghast?
I was just joking.
Okay. But I would still call you a liar if you tell me memories from when you were 5. I don't think you're full of shit.
Like,
so,
why didn't you tell me then?
Yeah, you could have told me the time. Why are you keeping it? Is it? Oh, I'm sorry. Is it a repressed memory? Were you hypnotized? Because that's not real either. So
I haven't told you everything. I have memories that I haven't told you about.
Wow. Oh, so you're just hoarding some just for later
They're
use?
just for her.
Okay, that's fine.
You're generally not that interested in my stories. Of my
I am
childhood.
too. I'm not really that much.
I know.
Hey,
Mostly pretty boring. What?
be more interested.
Actually, teach me how to fake interest.
Okay.
Oh my God, that's fascinating, Carrie. Carrie, that was an interesting story. Is that
I'm
what
going to write a memoir, and you're going to have to read it.
That's a good compromise.
I don't. I suppose if I can stay awake. That was mean. That was kind of a dick move. Anyway, so let's take some time with why we were.
You'll be a quarter of a chapter.
Wow, that's a quarter of a chapter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like 4 pages.
I don't know if you know how to order chapters, or because that doesn't make sense. At least give me a chapter. Give me a short chapter.
Okay.
But, okay, thanks. So I'm going to take a minute to talk about the inexplicability of this.
That's not a word.
It could be. It could be. I like it better than inexplicability. So, I mean, why are we talking about this thing 165 years later?
I don't
Good
know.
question.
Well, I kind of told you. I want to look into a little bit deeper the reasons why. So again, first, the prints were incredibly widespread. They were everywhere. So one letter writer wrote, quote, "There is hardly a garden in Limestone where these footprints were not observable. And in this parish, he appears to have gambled with an inexpressible activity." Again, I think some people thought early on, it's the devil.
Yeah.
That's, a little baby demon.
Well, it's not indicative of an animal.
No, it didn't look very
So-
well. A donkey, but it's way too small and closely striated.
And
Also not a
donkeys
word
don't go on
to be a
roofs.
donkey, and they don't go on roofs. They don't
Yeah.
go under haystacks and in through drain
I
pipes
mean,
either.
animal footprints are not in a straight line, is what I was saying.
And also they're bipedal
Yeah.
or quadrupedal. Well, I've known a donkey once that walked upright, but most donkeys, you're right, are four legged.
But he was Shrek's best friend.
That's true. That's true. That was good.
That was a good
I'm gonna
one.
give her that. That was scary. That was interesting. So.
Thank you.
And by the way, we very much need to bring back the word gamble, Gambol. It's like walk around or stroll around. That's a great word. They used it back then apparently. It's like where were you? Oh, I was just gambling with the dogs. I was just on a gamble. Why? What happened?
let's bring that back.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
I'd ask you how much you won. Did you lose?
No, that would be very confusing. I gambled to gamble. Let's also, by the way, bring back descanted
Yeah,
from
I
that
don't know
early
what
one.
that
I don't know
means.
what that means either, but
But let's bring
It's
it
a
back.
very cool word.
Let's just use it
Yeah.
completely incorrectly.
well, I just descanted some wine. Would you like some? So there were also these prints. Second weirdness was they were spread over a vast area. As I said, 40 to 100 miles was the estimate at the time. Though we'll talk in a little bit of just how reliable it is. We'll talk when we get to theories or explanations. And again, this is way too far for a single animal or even a group of animals to have traveled in one night. It was over a single night. This really is, I think, what started the idea that it was something supernatural. They literally woke up and found 40 to 100 miles of trails over the Devon County.
Yeah, but maybe it was 400 little creatures.
We'll talk about theories later. I said I was quite clear about that. So the naturalist Rupert...
I've got theories.
Okay, I know. Well, good. Jot them down in your notes. Oh, you aren't taking any? Okay. Oh, don't point to your head. Jesus. The naturalist Rupert Gold would later point out that to gamble around for even 40 miles, the low point of the, and he didn't use the word gamble now, so even 40 miles. So assuming you did this during the entire 14 hours of darkness during the night of February 8th to 9th, and that the 8-inch stride that was supported by most of the sketches, the creature that did that would have to run at the rate of 6 steps per second to cover that much ground. So whatever it was taking 6 strides per second to do 40 miles in a single night.
That's some good math.
Jesus.
Yes, he had, not to calculate this in the 19th century, but he had paper, he had a pencil, and he had some smarts.
But
And he
it's
knew how to
also
carry a
Some
wand.
smarts.
Easy to get around.
What?
It's easy to get around.
Is that going to be one of your explanations? Okay, you're just going to save that then, aren't you?
Yes.
Maybe you should jot down a note. Just point to your head again, people. Others pointed out that these were likely numerous separate tracks, and the longest distance of a single track was about 5 miles. But still, that'd be really impressive for a small mouse or a bird, which both have been posited as explanations. There are very few small animals that would be walking around 5 miles in a single night in the snow in a freezing cold night.
Yeah.
Some noted the tracks could have been made earlier, and some for sure were made later. So there was one case it was actually in Topsham, where there was some, again, I'm sure I'm mangling that down. Tracks were made on February 13th. We know they were a hoax, but still the vast, vast bulk was seen the morning of February 9th and dated then. So they occurred that night and early morning. The prints also were found in just impossible places. On a second floor window, on a garden behind a 14-foot wall, on both sides of a foot-high hole in a hedge, so implying something less than a foot high had done it, so a small animal. They were found on both sides of a 4-inch drain pipe, as I mentioned. They were found on both sides of a haystack with no marks on the top of the haystack. They're found on tons of rooftops. Again, famously, they were found on the edge of the X estuary, and again, on the other side, immediately 2 miles to the east, on the other side of the riverbank. So that's, those are places that animals shouldn't be, and things that animals shouldn't be able to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll say.
The prince at times walked right up to the doors of some. She's laughing at the way I said doors. We're going to keep this, Carrie, just to show people how mean you are to me.
Doors.
Doors. They walked right up to the doors of some of the homes in some villages, only to turn around again and retrace their steps. That's kind of scary. It's like, so you walk out, and so some creature
Was that my door?
some hoof-printed creature, the devil, came up to my door and thought, yeah, screw it, and left. Or maybe they knocked and you just didn't hear. I don't know. The creature or creatures, whatever it was also not seen by any human, and it did not appear to arouse the attention of dogs or any animals, which is very strange.
That's strange.
Yes.
That implies, I don't know what that implies, to be honest with you. You think, because if you had a badger, if a badger comes right up to your door or your yard, then your dog's going to bark. So that, even though it's a natural animal that's found in the area, blah, 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 you would think, right? I mean, our dog barks at the people 100 meters away. Yeah, I went meters.
He doesn't bark at people 100 meters away.
30 at least. He's ridiculous. You walk anywhere near the back of our house, he's going to go out there and bark.
That is true.
And if you come to our front door, he's going to.
Yes, well, that's more.
He may not bark, but he'll go to the front door.
He'll probably bark. And again, the prints were always found in a very straight line, although that's part of the lore of it. But there are different accounts, and some do mention some meandering. We'll talk about that in explanations as well. You can get the sense already that there has been some exaggeration applied to this story, but there's a kernel of weirdness here that's undeniable. And there's also the question of how similar the prints supposedly were. Again, a lot of people have, in the lore of this, is that, they were identical. Well, we've already seen that's not true. They were not identical. They had various different sizes.
Yeah.
And even a little bit different shapes. Not huge. Like I say, mostly it's horseshoe with an open middle, or at most, it's cloven with a mostly filled middle and a cleft in the back of the horseshoe or front of the cloven hoof. So they were not super dissimilar in their general shape, but they did have some size variation. Finally, the prints were, at the time, and according to the lore of the story again, said to be completely unique. No one had ever seen them. No one recognized them. Everybody, people, there are hunters and there are woodsmen and things like that, and this is their natural habitat. No one had any idea what made these prints at the time. It freaked them out. So word starts to get out. The story gets its second wind. It was a big deal. It was in a lot of the papers. A lot of people wrote letters. There weren't that many stories, but a lot of people wrote letters, and it scared Devon County there at the time in 1855 and went away. In 1950, it kind of got a second wind when the family of the Right Reverend H.T. Ellicombe, he's the vicar of Clace St. George back in the 1850s, they uncovered some old letters and documents of his, okay?
Sure.
That guy's almost a century later. These included some letters and tracings of the Devon footprints. He had been into it kind of at the time. And there's also a letter that was addressed to the Illustrated London News that was marked not for publication. Here's a part of that letter. Quote, "The marks which appeared on the snow, which lay very thinly on the ground at the time, and which were seen on Friday morning to all appearances were the perfect impression of a donkey's hoof, the length 4 inches by 2 3/4 inches. But instead of progressing as that animal would have done, or indeed as any other would have done, feet right and left, it appeared that foot had followed foot in a single line." I didn't say he was a great rider. He's not. "The distance from each tread being 8 inches, or rather more, the footmarks in every parish being exactly the same size and the steps the same length." So that letter that really kind of does give you a sense of the lore at the time and the lore of this story, that they were perfect, they were in a single line, they were the same, they had this weirdly short stride. By the way, he said, I read somewhere that the word footprint hadn't been, he says footmarks here, and that the word footprint hadn't been was not a part of the English language at the time. Then I'm pretty sure I read footprints in other articles, so whatevs. Anyway, though there were contemporaneous newspaper articles, much of the story was actually told through letters to these newspapers. You have to remember, newspapers at the time, local newspapers, I should say, didn't really have reporting or reporters. Mm-hmm. They just basically gathered local gossip and put it out to print.
Really?
So a lot of their stuff were from letters from people in their circulation.
What's it called when a book is just a compilation of letters?
Epistolary
Yeah.
or something like that.
That's a good word.
This great word, Carrie. we've got descant, we've got epistles, and we've got gamble. So maybe the most prominent letter writer was someone who called himself South of Devon. And by that's also true. They very often just gave themselves fake-ass names. I'm South Devon. Okay, of course you are, Bob. So a guy named South Devon, he wrote a very detailed letter. And I can't remember where it was published, but this has given rise to the description of the tracks and included some sketches, this letter writer. Quote, when we consider the distance that must have been gone over to have left these marks, one may say in almost every garden or doorstep, the extensive woods of Luscombe upon commons and enclosures and farms, the actual progress must have exceeded 100 miles. Still quoting, it is very easy for people to laugh at these appearances and account for them in an idle way. At present, no satisfactory solution has been given. No known animal could have traversed this extent or country in one night, besides having to cross an estuary of the sea 2 miles broad. Neither does any known animal walk in a line of single footsteps, not even man, end quote.
Yeah.
So he kind of succinctly, South Devon, thank you, buddy, relayed the gist of the mystery here.
Yeah.
It's also, by the way, in these letters that the footprints were described. Quote, in this letter from South Devon, he says that this particular mark removed the snow wherever it appeared, clear as if cut with a diamond or branded with a hot iron. So he also gave this idea that it was just sort of seared into the snow in an unusual way. It wasn't kind of mushy. We'll talk about later of how that may have happened. Before we get to the explanations, though, I want to address the uniqueness of this phenomenon, so how this has never happened before or since. There were supposedly other incidents that were similar, though not nearly as extensive. This is 40 to 100 miles of ground covered. One such incident occurred in Scotland 15 years earlier, and they were very, very deep prints, and they looked like that of a foal, a baby horse, according to the person who saw it. Very, very people saw this track. And the trail was different, so it looked to the person who saw it as if a foal was limping or even partly jumping. So the obvious idea is, well, maybe it was a foal with a bad leg. So, not.
Why would it even be recorded?
People have tried to say, oh, no, this is not the only time. 1855 Devon is the only time this happened. So they've searched history to find other supposed weird, unusual, unexplainable tracks.
Yeah.
There were also supposedly this happened in 2009 in Devon and 2013 in Scotland, the latter of which, though, was exposed as an April Fool's joke.
You really mean 2009 and 2013?
Yeah.
Oh.
Jesus.
But they're fake.
Yeah.
They're fake.
Oh, yeah.
Mike Dash has done the best research on this, on the Devon footprints. He's a writer. He's a good writer, even though he wrote a long piece for the Fortean Times, which is Forteana is Charles Fort. It's, we've talked a little bit about Charles Fort. He was a guy who collected unusual occurrences like frog rains and things like that back in the early 20th century and maybe even late 19th century. And Fortean Times it's not like it's a scientific journal. It wants to believe. Mike Dash, though, I find very genuine. He's a good researcher. And he writes of 21 known cases of similar hoof marks that he found. But again, someone like that first one with the foal, that they're not. None of them are anything like this.
Yeah.
And even so, it's rare and unusual. And it's very odd that no one in the place, Devon, where they were found, recognized them in any way, shape, or form. So I don't know. And again, most of these cases were ascribed to some specific animal at the time. So the Devon things they do, maybe not unique, but insanely rare and uncommon. And again, more extensive than any of the others by far. So, it could be that something like Devon in 1855 wasn't completely unique, but it was some, lore and legend kind of grew up around it, and it became more known than any of those other cases. I don't know, but to me, I still think it's much, much more unusual and impressive and mysterious than any of these other cases.
Yeah.
So, explanations. Let's get to it, because there are a shit ton of them.
Let's do it.
Aliens.
We'll get to aliens, Carrie.
Well, why can't that be first?
Okay.
Dean?
Go for it, Carrie. Aliens. Go.
Aliens, and many of them.
A lot. So aliens decided to walk around 1855, Devon, in the snow, weird-ass prints, hoof prints.
Yeah.
Okay. Their boots. It's their boots. And they're warmed, so they seared into the snow without melting it, and then it
Could be
re-iced.
their feet. We don't know what aliens look like.
Wow.
Aliens have like acid on their skin, maybe.
Maybe. Acid. So acid-skinned aliens. We've got acid-skinned aliens. We've got...
Not little, bigger than usual fairies, but fairies.
Fairies. Okay.
Lots of them.
Okay. You're not
Whole
thinking of...
colony of fairies.
You're not thinking of animals?
No.
Most of the answers that have been put forward has been some kind of animal. And tons of animals have been suggested. Monkeys, rats, otters, toads, donkeys, wolves, hares, cats. Some of these are even a little bit plausible because remember, I'll tell you in a little bit, if a track of an animal thaws partially and refreezes, it can be very, very distorted.
Sure.
But the problem is, if
The
any
placement of the tracks doesn't make sense.
the
for
placement
any
doesn't
of
make
those
sense,
animals.
and either there's the again, maybe Devon wasn't unique, but it was insanely rare, so it happened here and almost never again. Certainly, right? I mean, any of this animal. Okay, so it was whatever toads, otters. You've never seen that again before
Right.
or since anywhere.
Yeah.
Not even just Devon.
Yeah.
Anywhere you've never seen that again.
But also, it was what, several hundred cats?
Yeah,
Or
it had to be a ton of cats. It wasn't. Yeah,
all walking in a weird way.
all walking in a strange way with a strange print, not at all like a cat.
Yeah.
And if it was a cat, if it's a common animal, an animal common to the area, you'd see it every day.
Exactly.
Or every time the snow conditions, whatever, were right.
Yeah.
So remember that the tracks were also in a straight line, which again is not how any four-legged creature walks.
Right.
A flock of birds is another common one. Some kind of bird or birds is something that people have posited as potentially the answer as well.
Birds.
It was an early favorite
Again,
because of the breadth of it and because of the distance that it covered and because they were on rooftops and walls and things like that. So a lot of people at first said birds, like maybe a great bustard or herons were
Yeah.
thought to be a possibility. Or maybe some flock was driven onto land from a gale at sea or something like that, and they were walking around the snows for a long time on a long distance before they could fly back out to sea again. The tracks don't resemble any bird tracks whatsoever, not even close. No one saw or heard a huge flock of bustards or whatever over most of Devon during that night. The tracks don't look like any birds, which some people say, okay, well, maybe they don't look like birds, but maybe the birds or the bird singular had something stuck to
with
its
it, yeah.
foot and was trailing it behind it. It's just ridiculous. It makes no sense. 4,100 miles in a single night by a single bird. No. So people have said, in fact, Mike Dash, the researcher I mentioned a minute ago, said maybe some of the tracks were left by hopping mice, by field mouse.
Sure.
Possibly. But again, there's no possible way. Their prints, apparently, the way they hop into the same spot, their prints can look like a single line a little bit, and they can look a little bit like a cloven print. He cites a March 1855 article in the Illustrated London News saying exactly this. So there's some pedigree to this theory. But again, Devon, 1855, was the first and last time we've ever seen this amazing field mouse phenomenon.
And that widespread.
Yeah.
I mean, sure, if it was on one farmer's,
Maybe.
land or whatever. but
Suddenly,
not-
1,000 field mice decided to traipse all over, and the only time we ever noticed that weird print is 1855, February 9th in Devon. It makes absolutely no sense. So how about an escaped kangaroo?
No.
Why not?
A kangaroo?
Kangaroos, do you know what their back legs look like?
I do. But this rumor got going early as well that a couple of kangaroos had escaped from a private menagerie. Some guy named Mr. Fish in Sidwell was supposedly in possession of a couple of kangaroos. They said they must have got loose, and they made these tracks. But no one bothered to check and see if this actually had happened, if Mr. Fish ever had kangaroos, let alone that they got loose.
Or what kangaroo tracks would look
And
like.
kangaroo prints absolutely look nothing whatsoever like these tracks. And with any kangaroos were actually eventually rounded up. And a kangaroo stride is going to be a little more than 8 inches also. They're large animals. So that was just dumb. That was just because, what could jump over a haystack?
Yeah.
But even a kangaroo, I don't think could jump over a 14-foot wall. And if it did, it wouldn't start right before it and land right after it.
Yeah.
The minister who started the story about kangaroos, named J.M. Musgrave, minister, mind you, he later admitted that he made it up. But with good reason, people were already talking about it's the devil, it's the devil's in our town. So he said, no, it's just a kangaroo. No one should worry about it.
Weird.
So he thought that would work.
That'd get a whole lot of butts in church, if you ask me.
What, the devil?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, people were getting scared. He's been nice. He was trying to calm people down. There was hysteria brewing.
Oh, that's unusual.
Wow. Wow. Okay, this is mid-19th century Anglican priests. They're pretty staid. They wanted people just to calm down at all times. So could be badgers. The famed naturalist Richard Owen, he said this in 1855. He said, maybe it's badgers. He said their prints might fit the bill. Again, they kind of walk paw to paw, paw over paw, right? And that maybe several badgers could have done it because the badger's front and hind paws do kind of walk over each other, leaving a single line of footprints. But the problem is they have 4, not 2 legs. So you'd see 2 rows of these, not a single row of these, as all the prints were described. So it's a 2-legged badger with a left and right and left fore and hind limb.
Yeah.
That is nonsense. And also, and because the print, their bodies are pretty widely spaced, so there's no question you'd see both trails if it was a badger. And they also have, I looked up badger prints. They have a very clear, pads, the middle pad and the front kind of. Like think of the top of your hand, like those pads are very clear, and then they also have their toes, and mostly they'll have some claw tips as well. So they're like, again, just not even a little bit like the devil's footprints at all. And again, badgers, they're all over England.
Yeah.
They're there all the time. They've been forever. You see this a lot. So that's going to be a regular thing, but it's true. A later story had a balloon trailing a rope beneath it as the cause. This is kind of clever, you might think at first. A guy named Geoffrey Household, he made this up. He was a novelist. He wrote such gems as Rogue Male, Manhunt, Dance of the Dwarfs, and Rough Shoot. So never heard of any of them, but he was a thriller writer. And he thought, okay, maybe he dreamed of this idea that an experimental balloon from the Devonport dockyard had got loose and trailed something by its mooring rope that left these marks as it drifted over Devon. So it's drifting just exactly high enough all the time to leave these supposed footprints at the same depth, by the way, and with perfect consistency over miles and miles and miles. And it's driven in circles by a crazy kind of wind because it'd have to be unmoored and
you think
unguided.
it'd be a little more haphazard.
It'd be that's just is. A local, a person from Devon had told Household that his grandpa had told him this story. That his grandpa who worked at these docks had told him this story. That's where it was Geoffrey Household's source. So A1 research there, Jeff.
A1 research.
It was hushed up at the time because it wrecked some conservatories and greenhouses. I guess it smacked into them and smashed some windows, and it broke some windows in some houses. So apparently, I guess they didn't want to be held liable.
Sure.
So they went and fetched it and hid it and covered it up. Obviously, this is nonsense.
Yeah.
The altitude, the distance it went, the movement, the zigging and zagging movement of it.
Yeah.
It never snagged on any obstruction. Over this course of 4,100 miles. It was never seen by anyone except the people who worked for the dock and went and retrieved it and brought it back. That's just... And by the way, there's no contemporaneous records of any of this damage that would have caused the need for this cover-up either. So it's just classic post hoc speculation and actually pretty bad.
Yeah.
Jeff, sorry, buddy. You're dead, but still. That was weak. But it was at the time when he said this, it was considered, oh, God, that's really clever. Yeah, maybe. You never know. It's not true. So how about rain? Just rain. Simple rain.
Wow.
Just in a weird way. The drops hit the icy, packed snow, and then it never happened again just like that.
Yeah.
In completely straight lines and in the shape of a hoof print.
Nah.
No. How about just some other freakish weather phenomenon that we don't really fully understand, maybe? I mean, that would explain how it went weird places and how extensively it traveled. Some guy named J. Allen Rennie, I think he was a journalist of the first half of the 20th century. And the sources I read him in, they don't ever explain who the hell J. Allen Rennie is, as if we're supposed to know who the hell J. Allen Rennie is. We don't. So he said that he had seen something similar, some tracks similar in Canada in 1924. And he thought they were caused by, quote, some freakish current of warm air coming into contact with the very low temperature which had set up the condensation. Those are good words, quality words. They don't mean anything. They're not even qualified as a guess. And again, talk about freakish. It has never happened before or since, except for 1855 in Devon and 1924 in Canada.
Yeah.
No. One weather-related item that could have some bearing on this is what happened actually in truth in this morning of February 9th, 1855. There was a little bit of a warming, thawing weather early in the morning, right? It warmed up very quickly. Some of the snow may have melted, and then a cold front came in later that morning and refroze everything.
Yeah.
So it is possible that it has something to do with it. Again, as we mentioned, when tracks are partially thawed and refroze, they can get hugely distorted. Ask any Yeti researcher. I mean, or ask any honest Yeti researcher that can happen. It can get very, very distorted. Bear tracks can look like Yeti tracks very easily.
But again, it wouldn't make them single file. Go over haystacks.
Well, then you have to say, okay, what goes single file? What could be, and could it have like a rabbit has been, were there a bunch of rabbits scourging around foraging, and their tracks got so weirdly distorted and then refroze that they looked like these devil's footprints when they were finally spotted by humans later in the morning of February 9th. I don't know the answer to that. It sounds very far-fetched. And
They'd have to be very small rabbits.
What do you mean? Oh, well,
yeah, rabbits.
For the prints to be that small.
Well, presumably, again, rabbits are kind of hopping around, so their back prints are going over their front prints, and maybe they're merging and distorting together. They look like this single horseshoe shape. It'd be weird. It'd be unusual. But again, you wouldn't think it would be literally the only time it ever happened.
But I don't think a rabbit can jump over walls or...
Yeah. Rabbits aren't jumping 14-foot walls. Rabbits aren't, and they're not going through 4-inch drain pipes either. Yeah. So no. And by the way, to put the last nail in for the rabbit idea or anything like that, the local, at least one local writing a letter, said that when he was looking at these devil's footprints, he's in the same area he saw plenty of animal prints he easily identified, dogs and hares, presumably, and things like that. So he saw other animal prints that looked entirely normal. So why would this weather phenomenon just distort whatever caused the devil's footprints?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I like that guy.
I don't know who he was. He was a local wag, let's assume.
Yeah.
But so obviously people come to the idea that it was a hoax. If so, it was a massive effort.
Yeah. I don't see how anybody could have pulled that off in 1855.
No way. There was, and it'd have to be a lot of people doing it in different places. Again, this idea that it's 4,100 miles straight is not true. It was in sections for sure, but it was extensive. It was in, 30 places. It was many, many miles. And that's just an incredible amount of effort that would have gone into doing that. There were some hoaxes later on, like the church thing they think was a hoax. Mike Dash, he says that there was a religious point to the later hoaxing that some, quote, low church Anglicans, I don't know what that is, but it sounds like a burn, they're out to make a statement about devils. Something, I don't know whether it's to believe in them or not to believe in them, or they're for it or against it. I'm not completely sure, but still, that was only later, and it was limited.
Yeah.
One hoax theory was advanced in the 1970s that the whole event was a well-planned hoax by a band of Romani.
Oh, of course.
Of course. Well, this person was a Romani. And he is saying, my ancestors, way back in 1855, he wrote in his autobiography, as almost like a brag.
Yeah,
like,
we're so clever.
We're so smart. We hoaxed this via, quote, at least 18 months of careful planning by 7 Romani tribes who used more than 400 pairs of specially made measure stilts fashioned from step ladders to leave the trail in an attempt to scare away rival tribes of Didikais and Pikes. These were pagans who were fervent believers in devils. That's what he wrote, unquote.
Makes no fucking sense.
You crazy.
Yeah.
And you a liar. So the details, even his details, did not well align with the actual legend of the devil's footprints. The whole story is obviously just nonsense.
Yeah.
He made it up. And he just didn't do very good research to make it. Measure stilts. What the fuck's a measure stilt? Dude. And really, hundreds of you are going to get it's childish. So now that's not the idea as a hoax. And the idea as a hoax is the simplest counter to that is what you said. It's just too extensive. So you might think maybe it never happened. Some sources say, I've read this where, there's little evidence beyond the 1950 letters discovered in that reverend's shoebox, whatever. That's not true. There's contemporaneous articles and contemporaneous letters in newspapers. So I'm baffled by, but I've read that a couple of sources say that, which is just, I don't understand why they're saying that. But it is true that the event could have been exaggerated, and there have been embellishments that have gone there. There clearly has. Like, when they say like they looked exactly the same, well, they didn't. We know that there are differing descriptions in terms of their size and their stride. The 100 miles or so of prints is also a little suspect because no one could have possibly traced the 100 miles. Like the South Devon person who said, oh, it went at least 100 miles. How does he know that?
Yeah.
But certainly from the various reports, it was very, very, very widespread and intensive and extensive. And it for sure was done in a very, very short period of time, essentially that night.
Yeah.
And Dash writes, Mike Dash, he was, quote, no one tracked the mysterious prints for more than a few miles in order to see whether the trail was single or multiple, or ascertain how varied were the footprints themselves, or to check the apparently reliable reports that they had been found in the most anomalous of situations. If so, there was immediate embellishment. Within days of it
Yeah.
occurring, people were saying, oh, and I saw it cross over a 14-foot wall and things like that. So it's possible that some of these, the most inexplicable parts of it are exaggerations or
Right.
embellishments.
I'm rethinking everything now.
Are you?
Yeah.
Everything? Like your marriage, your life, your children, having children at all.
Probably.
Damn, Carrie. So again, local newspapers were not like we think of them. They weren't going and looking out. They were just, oh, the story? Okay, we'll print it. Sounds
Yeah.
good to us. Thank you. Still, the argument for similarity is probably a little overdone. They were different. The argument for how linear they were is a little overstated because there's reports that they meandered a little bit and even crossed over each other. So with all mysteries, there is some bullshit
Yeah.
quickly follows them and there's embellishment, but in this case, I still think there's something more there. So we're left with Carrie, aliens, water monsters like kelpies, or Satan. Of those three, what do you think? Aliens,
What's
water
most
monsters,
likely?
Satan. Yeah.
Aliens.
Aliens. Probably.
Aliens. That is a interesting measure of our times because there are other times we would have said Satan. Like back then, they would have said Satan.
Yes, absolutely.
And before that, they might have said water monsters or kelpies or something like that in certain
None
places.
of them make sense, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I
It could have been like little mischievous fairies too.
Yeah.
yeah,
Something
fairies
like
too.
that.
Okay.
Half
Okay,
fairy,
if we throw
half
fairies.
fairy, half like centaur fairies.
So fairies. Okay, so aliens, fairies, kelpies, Satan.
Fairies. It's England,
Fairies.
so fairies.
It's England. Okay. All right.
You know, like that character from Narnia that's like half
Yes.
goat, half person. Like
I think
those
it's a satyr, right?
like those type of fairies.
Satyr,
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah. Okay. That
Like
kind of
that.
thing. Sure. Okay.
That's mine.
You convinced me. Here's my take on this: is that I don't know, and we'll never know. And that's what
Yeah.
makes it so mysterious. It is. There's a kernel of truth there that's remarkable and inexplicable for sure. Even if there's some exaggeration going on, there's still these unidentifiable footprints that were seen over a wide area in many places, in many odd places, in a way, and never happened again. And that part of it is critical to the weirdness of this story because we it seems like we should see this kind of a thing again and again, or at least once in a while.
Here's the thing. If every single detail is true,
Yeah.
then it kind of has to be something supernatural
Yeah.
or alien or something like that. Or there's just some stupid explanation.
yeah.
I mean, because apparently it happened.
Yeah.
Apparently.
It did happen. It did happen.
So, but it is just weird that it's never happened since or before.
I know it.
Or,
It's here. The core of the mystery is this: is that yes, okay, our rational self say there must be some natural explanation for this.
Correct.
Probably something to do with the thaw and refreeze in all likelihood.
Yeah.
But every single rational explanation that has been put forward doesn't cut it.
Yeah.
None do. That's why it's this deep mystery that has lasted so long, but it's also an annoying one.
Yeah.
Because it means we're never going to know
Yeah.
what the answer is with any kind of certainty.
also, aliens are natural.
Aliens are natural.
So,
They use aloe vera. They eat nothing. I hear they're mostly vegan. So,
Probably.
probably.
Mostly vegan.
A carnivorous alien would be a little scary. So let's assume. So that is the story of the devil's footprints.
pretty interesting.
Interesting. Very weird. Very weird.
Imagine that on the Weird World podcast.
It's really off brand for us. We wanted to do something different.
So we did something weird.
Yeah.
So that's all for now. Carrie, tell them the stuff that you're supposed to tell them.
Weird World Podcast on Gmail. I almost said YouTube. We do not have a YouTube.
Oh,
No.
no.
Facebook, Instagram, and Patreon.
Wishful thinking.
And Weird World Pod on Twitter. that's about it.
Okay.
Got it,
And
friends?
did you mention Twitter? Yes, you did
I
just
just
now.
did.
As a matter of fact,
You
I'm
don't
tweeting.
tweet.
I am too. I
He
just
has
did a
started
few,
tweeting.
and I'm going to do for this one and
Good.
all that.
Very
kind of
good.
Stuff. So that's it.
That's it.
Thanks for listening. Until next time. Ciao.
Be weird.
Okay.
Ooh, nice.
Good one. Okay.
Peace up, A-Town down.
What?